let's jump on the practice things. Let me talk about basic Linux, basic Docker command. So whenever you are running any command, like I said, it's a Docker CLI interactive mode that is talking to the Docker daemon or Docker engine. So when you are running Docker, so there are lots of Docker command that you can see from Docker help. So these are actually command. If you are forgetting any command of Docker, then you can see these options from here. So these are commands and these are the options. So you can see if you want to do any operation, build operation, configuration, container, etc, and you can do. And these are the operations, other command for doing the operations over the container or image. So I will be creating a simple Docker container just to show you a simple Nginx server. Right now, there is no server installed in my system. I'm going to show you like a simple Nginx server. So right now, let me show you. There's a command to list all the Docker running container, Docker PS. Docker PS command list just like in our system we have ps-ef command to list all the process, or PS command to list all the process running in Linux system or Windows system. There's a different command. The same way we have Docker PS command. It lists all the containers which are running. And the same way we have Docker images command. Docker images command gives all the list of Docker images available in the system. And Docker PS gives list of containers. So this is giving images, this is giving container. Container are in runtime entity, and images are static configurations. Fine. And there are other command like Docker PS. If I run with -a option, it gives all the container which have been killed, which were running, which are not running in front end, or which have been killed. So Docker PS just give the current running container. PS-a gives all container which have been killed and the running both. So I will be showing a simple example to show you to create a simple container. Now let me jump back here. Okay, so I will be showing you how to create image, what are the images. So I just explained about the container images and the architecture of Docker, which is mostly asked interview questions. Lots of people ask about what is container, what is image, how to list all the containers, how to list all the container which are killed as well as running in run currently, and how to remove images. So there are lots of command still which you can explore, like if you have a container running, you can create or delete that container, or you can delete that image, remove that image, create a runtime container from that. I will be showing all these steps. Let's start some practices. So in here, let's start simple my. Okay, so now we'll be saying about lots of other Docker command. There are lots of Docker command that you can see anywhere in your cheat sheet. I will be sharing in my GitHub repository. These commands, like I showed, we can use these commands to do any operation, to create container, to list image, etc. So we just gone through these two simple command. Docker PS list all the running container. Docker PS-a list all the containers which are running and as well as killed also. Docker images list all the images available in the container in the system. Docker RMI is used to remove the images. So we have to provide Docker RMI and the image name, etc. For right now, there's no container, there's no image running. So let's start with simple practices of creating a simple Docker my hello world program. So I am just here creating a simple container which is Docker. This is wholesale cow hello world program. So when I run this, it is trying to. So we will follow the step how what actually is happening in the background. So Docker first of all is the command. It is used to create a container. here you provide the image which is a public image or a private image, and this is something a name, or you can say image name, that container name that you are going to give. So what's happening here is, you see here, it's trying to download that image. It's first of all said, whenever you run any container run command, these are the generic steps is going to follow. What's happening here is, you have to understand it very deeply. Docker run command, and this is image and the name that you're going to give the container. And this is going to print a hello world over here. That's simple thing here. So what's happening here? It's first saying unable to find image. That means it, whenever we run Docker run command, it first, or Docker pull command, I mean Docker, any command related to Docker. Whenever you see this unable to find image, then it is trying to search the image first of all in the local. So in my base machine, it is trying to search the command, this image where I have installed running that engine. So it's trying to search the image first of all in locally. But since I have never used this image, that's why it's never not present here. But if I have suppose if I have run this second time, then it will not show this first line error. It's not an error, just an indication that is the image is not present in the local, but it's pulling from the public repository. So that's why it's pulling the image from the public repository. So now it's going to the Docker Hub, and if I say search here in the repository, so it's going to pull this image. So basically, Docker CLI know how to reach the destination based on the image that is requested. So basically, Docker run, when I run Docker run, is as CLI gone to the Docker. It just a diagram that I just demonstrated a few minutes. It is just it's gone to the Docker engine and ask, okay, do you have these images? Docker engine said, no, I do not have these images. Go to the Docker Hub. So then Docker engine gone to the Docker Hub. From Docker Hub, it pulled these images. This is very important question, most of the time asked in the interview, why I will be telling you in a few minutes. So then it pulled this image. It will you see these are list of container ID. Or you can say image ID basically right now. It has pulled in sequence. So this is a feature of Docker. So when we run a Docker container, it runs in layers. Basically, whenever all any steps are written in Docker image creation, it keeps doing that in layers. So the first layer, second layer is these things. I will be showing these things furthermore, and then finally it is able to download the image and then able to run the hello world program here. So it simply showed me Docker hello world here. So I will now see Docker PS. I again see Docker PS is not having any output. Right? Reason, it was a container designed to run only just to run hello world in output. And when it pulled the image, run the hello world output, and it exited. So basically, it should be available in the exited status. So basically, when I run with -a option, you see this is available, but this content is not running. It was created 3 minutes ago, and the image is this one, container ID is this one, and I fired here is cow say hello world. This is something command. It just printed here like that, and it was created here 3 minutes ago and exited now. The status is exited here. So with ps-a, we see all the images which are exited. Now let's see what images is showing. You see, earlier there was no images here. Now it is having a very small size image, which is not in GB, 247 MB only. And then it is present with the image ID, or you can say repository is this one. It has the detail To know more about this container, you can inspect about it with Docker inspect command, Docker inspect and then container ID. This one, you see, it has listed you more all the things about this image about the container. Like it was having all these metrics or parameter metadata for right now it's having null values because it's in exited status. So you can do inspection is mostly asked in the interview questions. Docker logs also. Docker logs command gives you the status of the container. The activity has been performed in the. So this is troubleshooting command. Inspect Docker logs is a troubleshooting command used to dig about the Docker container, why it is exited, what has happened to the container, etc. Whenever it is required. So this was just a simple demo of running a hello world program. Now you see here again, Docker image is having something right now here. So Docker images is having still this here, but Docker PS is not having. Why? The container is an exited state is not running state, but images is still there. So when now I'm running again the same command to run this hello world again, Docker run Docker say hello world. Now what happened? You see, it quickly created. It has not followed those steps like earlier. You see, it has followed those steps of pulling the image, and earlier so that we're unable to pull the image because right now the Docker know that Docker engine itself is having this image in host machine. Do not need to go to the Docker hub and pull that image. So right now it's available in the Docker engine. So Docker as a client talk to the Docker engine, give me that image. So Docker engine said, okay, I have the image, just uh, pull it, I mean use it and run your command, whatever you're filing. So right now just set this is output. Okay, fine. I think this is much clear. So let me clear the screen and run a next set of practice command. So in the next let me I just explained you Docker here in this command. This is Docker run command used to create a new container, and another Docker slash whole says base image for creating the container. We have to give the base image by using that image only we can create any container. Like I said, image is something used to create a container, so we have to provide the path of repository and the image here, and then command name to the run within the container. So the cow say hello what is something which is going to run inside the container when it is created. So that's why we saw immediately after the container is created something in output like hello world. In next, like run simply a hello world here, right, like this. Okay, let me run at this command just to see what's going to happen. So here, when I run this command again, this was not present in my system as we saw in my latest Docker image command. It was not present. So we still have the output. Images was having only this command, this image, this Docker holds image, Wales image. That's the reason it pulled again the hello world image. It gone again to the Docker hub and asked for this image since it was unable to find in local, and then pull the image, and this is the show value matrix statics, and then this image is saying something hello from the Docker, this is blah 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 this. To generate this image, Docker took the following steps. This is just for demonstration purpose. I'm just telling you like a simple how to create container etc. So this image is basically designed in a way to uh, give you an intro about Docker etc. That's why intentionally I pulled this image and show you. So let me show the Docker PS status. Again, the container is not running because it was running. It ran and then exited. So it should be in the PS-A because it ran and exited. The status is exited. So now see Docker logs as well. again. So this is again here. So this was the output which was displayed for this. Okay, not worry about these all things. So now it is saying to generate this image, Docker run the following steps. Hello world for running this container. What Docker has followed in depth is Docker client contacted the Docker daemon. I just said like that. Docker daemon pulled the hello world image from the Docker hub. Docker daemon created a new container from that image which runs the executable that produces the output you are currently reading. The Docker daemon streamed that output to the Docker client, which sent it to the terminal. So what happened is indirectly, this is explaining very clearly. You should very clearly go to these steps to know actually what's happening in the background. So here, Docker daemon streamed that output to the Docker client. So basically, whenever we run this command, is basically these operations is done. Docker daemon, which is Docker engine, uh, exported that output back to the Docker client that we are seeing right now. So he's saying to explore more, run these commands. Let's run this docker run -it bash. Create a scale. Again, Docker images. Sorry, Docker images. We have now two images and sorry, let's run about PS running content is no one. Now run this command, run -ip12. So again, it's going to talk to the Docker client is going to talk to the Docker daemon. The Docker daemon is not having the image, so that's why Docker client is going to the Docker hub and pulling the images. There's a very interesting part. How this Docker client know that it has a specific Docker hub, and how this Docker client know its credential to pull. Anyhow, this is not public. I have logged in with my credential. But how this Docker client know that, and how this Docker client is able to reach my account actually here, and then search that a specific image that I have provided here after run command, this, and then pull in the system. How this anyhow, this Docker client is talking to my Docker hub account. How it's happening is this way, because I have configured my credentials locally here. So this is mostly asked interview question. When you run Docker command, it shows most of the time not able to pick the. Give me a bit. Okay, I'm right now inside the container. Okay, so when Docker command is run, this command most of the time is run. It most of the time fails. Why? It fails with Docker login, something like that error. Why? Because we have not told your system, you have not told your system that there is some Docker hub which is having some credential. You have to associate that Docker client with your Docker hub, so that your Docker engine, Docker running in the same host machine or Docker client can interact to your Docker hub to pull or push the images. That's the concept. How it's done? So for that, Docker hub have two methods to log in. Either we, first of all, before running this command, I should have run Docker login. When I run Docker login, it asks, oh, so sorry, I'm inside the container. Let me clear the screen. Docker PS, again, no container running. So for this, I have to first of all run this Docker login. When I run Docker login, it asks, right now it's not asking because there's two methods to log into the Docker hub. When you run Docker login, it asks Docker hub repository username and then password. Another method, one method is username password login. Another method is token login. So you then Docker hub provide you token. Here is something you can an account setting, uh, have like a password, or you can create a token here, access token, that you can use. The same token you should simply use and configure in your Docker file, config.json file. I'm not going to show the output because it's having my token or credential. So when you're logging or install the Docker first time, you have to configure your Docker hub. So, or it could be your Docker hub, or it could be of the repository, or the hub where you have kept the images. You can give the configuration of your Amazon Elastic container like ECR, your GitHub repository. Depends on your requirement. If you want to publish or pull your image from Docker hub, you just keep the Docker hub credentials here, otherwise of the respective portal. Fine, for now I have just configured the credential of Docker hub here in this file with the token. How it should look like, let me try to show you here. It should look like that. It's having this JSON file, auth, and the token here. Here you have to paste the token, and this index will be same, like it's same for Docker hub. But for your if it is for different case, then you have to provide that like for your Amazon ECR etc. Otherwise, Docker pull or Docker run command will fail to pull the new image with Docker login something like that error. I hope this is clear. So basically where it is kept by Docker is in the standard is this repository. You have this is config.json here. See, fine. So that's the reason I was able to pull the image from my Docker hub. Now let's jump back to the previous this command docker run -it ubuntu bash. So what this command is basically doing is this command is running a container and with -it. What is this? Earlier we run the docker run without this option. What is the difference? This is basically -it. I is for interactive, T is for terminal, and bash is a shell that is going to give us when we are logging inside the container. So basically with this command we are creating a container with image ubuntu. We have not defined any name. We can give any name, but we have not defined any name here. And then we are trying to interact to that container and log in with the bash shell. So when I run this, you are now inside the container. If you run here, you are inside the container basically. By -it only, you are able to interact to that container. Now to exit, just type exit docker ps command, and it is not running right now. Now I will try to run the same again, bash, and then I'm inside the container in one terminal and another terminal. Let's see docker ps. It's still running because we are still logging inside in one another terminal. As soon as I exit here, you will not see any container running here because that was the uh, like logic of this container. This image is specifically to run. Move on to the next exercise command, couple of things. So anytime you are stuck, you just need to uh, type -. Like if you don't know much about options, I after run -h. Sorry, hyphen help maybe. Yeah, it's saying -help. So it will tell you that these are the options that you can use after run command, like these attach list and add host etc. It depends totally on the requirement of the user, if what kind of container, what are the configuration he want to assign. Fine. So let's jump back. Just discuss about Docker images listing, Docker process listing. Now, if you want to search any for example, Debian image you want to search, and then it will show you from Docker. It will first of all search in local the same way, and in Docker repository. How Docker have it I'm able to see. So if you're not sure which is the Docker image name, if it is actually present in the Docker hub that you can use or not, you can search with that Docker search command, Docker search Debian I search. So it listed me these many lots of like images that I can use. So for example, I picked any one of it. For example, let's say each is having its own specific configuration. One may be having one configuration, another maybe another configuration, depending on the use case. You can just read more about it in the Docker Hub. So now I just copied one simple sample image. Now I'm trying to run the Docker run hyphen, not hyphen I don't need this one. And then dev test, Jesus said dev test. Okay, so it then we know that this Debian image is already in Docker Hub. We found the name from here, and then from this image only we created a container. We are trying to build the container. So you see here it's trying to build the container with this image. So you will see this container right now because it's pulling from the Docker Hub, and then it's pulling is of higher size 49. So it's still pulling. 10 MB left. Okay, so there's an error because this configuration this image was of different configuration and there's no option to pass this command like that. It depends on the images or Docker container images which that can accept that simple command like you have passed earlier like hello world. So okay, fine. And then in the next, let's see, you just docker pull command. If you run, it's going to pull the specific image. For example, if I want to pull this image, Debian image, simple Debian, not these tags, these names. You can even pick this also. So if I want to pull this image, so it's going to pull this image from Docker uh, hub. So when you run Docker run next time, it's not going to pull again. So when you run Docker run next time with this image name, it will not show that it's pulling and it says not in local. So this is you are running to pull that image in your local so that you can create a container from that. The same way you have lots of command of Docker, you can keep practicing. I told you about inspection, and Docker history. Docker history command is very important. I'm just interrupting this to Docker history. I just kill this because we already discussed this. Docker history command. Docker history command uses this. Let's talk about uh, let's talk about Debian history. What happened? It is having no images for Debian. Let's talk about Ubuntu. It has okay. Docker history shows that Ubuntu named image was used. This blah blah is having this. It is even giving the command Dockerfile like output here also, which was actually this container was designed with these sets of command. So this is some good thing that we can know in sequentially what happened with the Docker container, the Docker history command. And the same way we have a command Docker save. Let me clear the screen. Docker save. If you want to save your Nginx command to any tar, for example, save Nginx image with -o nginx.tar, it will save. Since we do not have the Nginx image, let's just pull first Docker Nginx. Let me pause it. So we have Nginx image pulled here. We can see from images, we do not have any container still running, active container, because we have just pulled the image, not created the image. Now we will try to save this. You can say load or store images. So this I'm going to tell you about load or save command. So we are going to like save this nginx command with nginx.tar. You can say images and ls hyphen thc. You saved in your local that images. You have just exported that image basically from Docker daemon to your local system as a tar. Now you can use this image anytime if you want. In the same way, there's a command that you can do to load basically docker load hyphen I, and then you are trying to use the same nginx star. So with this, you will again load this Nginx image in your Docker daemon. Basically, if you want to export or import your command in your system from your system, that this command is doing. So Docker images, if you list again, you are having images again, image again here. It was the same. Now, if I remove this Docker image, RMI, and this image name, RMI is used for image removal, or you can create a kill the container as well. Docker, if since you're not having Docker active container running, so now if you try to run the same command again, load, you will see that Docker images will have the Nginx image running. Docker images. So see, it again came because we just imported it. So this is just the way save will save to save will export to your local, and load will import to your daemon. Okay, I think this is all good. So there are lots of Docker command that you can use. I will be sharing those things in my GitHub account so that you can practice each command, which is very important. So in interviews, these are all sets of questions asked. If you are done with this practices, it will not take seriously. If you want to learn Docker, it will not take more than 1 or 2 days to revise the system, but it will impact a lot in your resume. So if you will practice these things, it's really going to impact your resume very well. Like you can start getting lots of calls if you practice about these things, and it's just going to take one or more like 2 days to practice all this stuff from beginning. I am having this call started, and it's going to around 1 hour, and then now you will see this all things in the same class. So you can practice the remaining commands. I will post in the GitHub repository. Now let the next chapter is what is Dockerfile. So let me talk about Dockerfile. Um, okay, so let's start talking about Docker. I have a Dockerfile. I have here lots of projects for Docker that I will discuss in next chapters or next class. For now, I just explain all about is Docker command line, and I will now tell you about Dockerfile, how it looks like. So let's say create a simple project again, like project 0, you say project 0, and then inside project 0, go here and screen touch to create nginx.conf. In this, I am going to show you uh, to create a server so that you can see how actually Dockerfile looks like Nginx server from or deploy an application from Docker concept. Now I will create a Dockerfile here, and then here put this well. I will discuss more about this. Before I proceed, let's just run Docker PS. This is right now, though no container running. Docker PS hyphen sorry, Docker P images. So here you see Nginx images there. So let's try to create first of all Nginx or Apache server from Docker command line. I will show you the difference for creating an Nginx server from command line, and then from you can say this Docker file. Okay, so I have here Okay. So I will create a first of all simple Apaches or a server that you can load from localhost by this command. Let's understand first of all this command. Again, by run we are going to create a container. I'm right now this time I'm going to use hyphen hyphen name to give a name of my container. If you do not give this, it will pick a default name from Docker Daemon, which is in your running in your host machine. And I'm giving image name which I am going to use as a base image to create the container. And here, very importantly, hyphen d option is used to run this container in detached mode. Hyphen p is used to give to to run this container so that you can use the container port. Basically inside it's running with 80 and 8080 outside is exported. So if, when you are accessing the Apache server or Nginx server from localhost, then you have to use the port. So basically the server inside it is running on a specific port that you can uh, export or import from these hyphen p option. If I run this, it created a token ps. You will see a container here to run localhost column 8080. You will see welcome to the Nginx. It has created a simple Nginx page because we have used a very basic container configuration. So now what when you want to make this page more changing, like if you want to customize this page, you want to add more features here, this is something like a real-time world application work actually. So you cannot do this from command line. So there's a concept of Dockerfile which allows you to write all the sequence of steps so that you can customize these images. You cannot customize this image from command line on. You can just run simply or existing command or existing images to create a container and do your operation. But you cannot create a custom images because you have use a image to create a container. But from existing image, you will now create a custom image. Now here Docker ps, let me kill this Docker kill. And this, it's not a safe way, you have to be very careful when you are killing this command is simply to kill the container. And then okay, now we'll do a simple project 0. I have lots of project here. I will show about the Docker project 0. It is simply to create a Apache server with Nginx. I have there nginx.conf file, which is having index.html file, which will create index.html file and is listening on 800 port. And then it's having Dockerfile here. So this very basic format of writing this Dockerfile is it's having lots of set of command like from, copy, expose, command line, entry point, lots of other points where values are there. You can see from Dockerfile official documentation page. So if you see here Dockerfile official documentation page, you have you can see these options here: instructions, run, these commands. So you can be with the help of these options, you can create a custom custom image, because I will not talk much deep about this each command, but basically like from is the important and most important and the first command that is always written here, which tells that okay, this image we are going to use now as a base image. Earlier, what we were doing when we were running Docker run command, we were giving the base image name there only. But in Dockerfile, you have to write here something like that. It could be any tag and then image name. So this image basically is going to pull from Docker Hub, which is public image, when you are going to run this Docker file to create a image and then container from that image. So basically what Dockerfile gives you is from Dockerfile is a difference like Dockerfile, Dockerfile and Docker command. Docker command. So the difference is like you can create a custom image. Custom image. You can just and then you can create a container from that custom image container. Here you can just use only existing image. Existing image. Cannot customize it or and then create a container from it. It has Dockerfile is having uh, parameters, you can say parameters written in a file. So it is just like from copy. I'm just simply listing. It's not in sequence, just values that anyone use in the Dockerfile. Add entry point, entry point, in etc. There are lots other as well. Here we have the options in command line itself. Just like if you run Docker, uh, run hyphen, there's an option like we can use the option -v we can use to add a path from local. That the same we can use add or copy command like that. There are other differences. So what happening is here is when we are using Dockerfile. So Dockerfile have all the instruction written. Instruction or steps written, which we need to create a custom image, and then we will run like build this run by Docker build command to create an image, and from that image we will create a container, and then we can use this container. Also, build image can be used to push to Docker repository hub, push or you can say pull, both operation you can do. It is. So this is the benefit of Dockerfile. Let's jump back quickly. So in this a very simple way, Dockerfile, I have just demonstrated about the uses of these all options, basic options like from is used to create a image from basic image, and then copy is simply copying the nginx.conf file that should be available in my local where I'm having the Docker file or where I'm going to build the Docker file, and it is going to copy this from my local to the Docker container, so that when you run Apache server inside the container, it has the .conf file there available. Expose port command is used to export 8080 port, so that container is listening on 8080 port from outside. So outside person can reach to this container using the 8080. By default, the Nginx is running on 80. I will show that. And then cmd, the command that should be run when we are inside the container, and then starting the command. Once the container is created, it should run this command. Now I will go to this run. This is command docker build -t is tag. -t is used for tag. A dot is important. Dot is telling that in the same repository there should be a Docker file. So this command will automatically understand that there is a Docker file in the same repository, and in the same repository only we have nginx.conf, and it will create a image. Now we see Docker images. We have created a custom image, my Nginx image, and that is of 48 MB. if you want to inspect about it, Docker inspect, sorry, okay, so image is having these many configuration. So, and then Docker logs, I don't think we have this. We don't have logs for image actually. It's called container. So right now there's no container for this, only image we have created. So we have this image newly created from this here. Docker run -d in detached mode with the port exposed to 8080 and this name where we'll use this container. Uh, this is a new name container name that we have given to the container, and this is the image that we are going to use. Now you see here, earlier we were running a base image. Now we are using the custom image that we just created. So now you see Docker container is running here, and we can access. I think there's some port configuration error. Very good. That's okay. You see here it's running 8080. You can see the logs as well of this container. You see here it's giving the log. What's the issue that has happened, or the something going on inside the container. You can run. Most important thing, if you see that you want to see some logs of this container, so this you can go inside the container with Docker exec. Docker exec is allowing you to go inside the container with the name of container and then hyphen interactive shell bash. Sorry, we have to give this here container name, image, container ID, not the image name or the container name, two things. Hyphen is not required. It just simply give bash or maybe shell. Okay, shell is allowed. It depends on the image. If it may not have the bash environment. So we are inside the container with the shell here. Now you see here, it should be having inside CTC, Nginx. What was the Nginx? Yeah, Nginx. This should be a file, nginx.conf. You see here, cat nginx.conf. Yeah, here. So this is copied from my local. So now I am in Docker, inside Docker container. Now I'm exiting it. Is this is present in my local as well. So this is copied because of this copy command here. So each attributes here is having its own feature. We use it depends on our requirement. So this was just a basic example of a Docker file, and I just demonstrate about what is Docker, why we use Docker, what is the difference between Docker. The most important questions that can be asked in the interview about is these command line, like what is run command, what is -it option there, how to inspect Docker, what is the difference between images and container, what is how to list these images and container, how to see the or kill the containers, lots of these commands. I will write all these questions in my GitHub repository and post to you there. Now the last thing that okay, so more projects that we will discuss is in next couple of sessions. I have lots of simple projects which are front end, back end application, which are very important, like in real time what it's happening, how it's running in. Because from this we will move to Kubernetes in next chapters. So after we practice these all projects, we will move to the Kubernetes concept. Right now I think this is fine for now, and we should practice more about Docker command that I will be providing in my GitHub repository readme file. And the most important thing is from where you can learn Docker. Actually, the most, I think, my favorite teacher have been like this Mumshad. I have the course here is if you run Docker. So choose this course. This is just 400 rupees course, not this one. This course, choose this course, and it's having lots of hands-on practices and projects also. So he's going to teach you everything in depth. I just told you everything about Docker in just, it was just overview, but more than sufficient for an interview. But if you want to read more about in depth, like what is Docker registry, compose, images, run, etc, etc, you will learn more about in depth. I have not covered the storage etc stuff still. And in next lecture, next class, I will be discussing more about other projects that I am having, and we will build a front end, back end app, like real-time application that is running in the industries, and most of the interview questions are asked from there. And then we'll move to the container, the Kubernetes part from there. I hope this is fine for this lecture. We'll see you in the next classes. For any questions, let me know in my comment section. For any specific classes that you want, let me know in my comment section. You can reach me with my mail ID. I will provide in the readme file or comment section of the tutorial. Have a great day. Bye for now.